Yeah, somebody mysteriously bails Chicken Wilbur out of jail.
The way you said that, it made me think of Chicken Wilbur, and then I imagined Lou Costello's face on the animated chicken from the movie. I just had to mention that because that is
The
a
star
really
of
hilarious
Chicken Run,
image.
Chicken Wilbur.
Lou Costello blasting off in a Coca-Cola jetpack, missing pants.
Cinematic fantastic.
Klaatu, Barada, Nikto.
I'll show you who I am and what I am.
Bitten by a werewolf and lives, becomes a werewolf himself.
Open the pod bay doors, Val.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello and welcome to the Cinematic Fantastic Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Weatherford.
And your other host, William Weatherford.
Get ready for opinions, dad jokes,
and bad jokes
as we watch and review sci-fi and fantasy films from the classics of yesteryear to the new favorites of today. When last we left our two intrepid adventurers, William and Jason, on Cinematic Fantastic episode 50, they were hanging from their fingernails off the side of a skyscraper as a strange extraterrestrial alien was attacking. Although extraterrestrial and alien are kind of the same word, and you're kind of repeating it, so it's a tautology. But anyway, what will they do? Find out now on Cinematic Fantastic episode 51.
It turns out we were all right.
I'm
inexplicably.
Fine. I don't know about you. Inexplicably, I don't know about you. Well, we have to show a scene where somehow we rolled out of the way of the burning vehicle or something.
Whoa.
Something that wasn't seen on camera whatsoever. How's everybody doing? This is Cinematic Fantastic episode 51.
As we said, we'd come back for Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein 1948.
1948, yeah.
The first Abbott and Costello Universal monster movie.
Yes, I was about to say, it's not the first Abbott and Costello movie, but if this is the first Universal one. And how did it do as far as money? I thought that it made decent money, and that's why they went, oh, we got a hit on our hands, let's keep going, and they kept going with it. And
Abbott and Costello made
your mileage may vary.
Pretty good money with this.
They didn't do the Gill Man, like the Abbott and Costello. That'd be a long title. Abbott and Costello Meet the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I think by the time, okay, not to get into history real quick, but by the time that
Abbott and Costello meets the killer, the creature from the Black Lagoon returns.
Dawn of Justice. I think that they kind of ended working together by 57, and that's like 3 years after the Gill Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon came out. So that was in 54. So I don't think they would have ever been able to capitalize on a lot of that. But anyway,
yeah, actually, they might have
prattling
been
on
right at the end of their career in
yes.
this to be able to do that.
Yeah, and these movies, they may have done like 4 or 5. So I will tell you.
But what is this movie about? Yeah. Well, Dracula. Now, I guess that's interesting to say that this isn't now a cultural thing that Dracula leads the monsters. But yeah, he leads the monsters on an epic quest to be alive, and Abbott and Costello are there, and they need to stop him despite being hopeless little creatures.
Yeah, assisted by our favorite emo sad man, Lawrence Larry Talbot, played by
who we see at the forefront of the movie, surprisingly enough. It's weird seeing Lon Jr. Wolfman pushed right in the first scene, because they never really do that.
I haven't seen a lot of other Abbott and Costello, which I'll tell you who those guys are real quick. Just sum it up. Their movies
comedy group.
They're a comedy group. In most comedy groups at the time, like a Laurel and Hardy, they would have one guy who was considered the straight man. He's the guy that he's more, I guess, normal, and he's a little bit frustrated maybe with the other guy. Do they call him a comic foil? I don't know what they call the other guy.
The Banana Man. That's one of them. They call him the Banana Man.
He's called the Banana. So the Banana and this team up would be
Yeah, do not put bananas
Louis
and
Costello.
aluminum foil in a microwave.
No, don't do that.
Why would you do that unless you're trying to create plasma?
Well, it
And
does explode.
even still, why would you create plasma?
But it creates
I'm
this
like,
lovely
dead serious.
burnt
I don't
banana
understand
smell.
why you would make plasma by putting a grape in a microwave. I don't really know how safe that is to
I
have
think it
plasma in your
superheats
microwave.
the acid. I think it's the acidic nature of the grape.
Yeah, but it's cool until
Is that what does it?
it explodes the
Well,
microwave.
everything's-
Or you open the thing and there's just a glowing ball of deadliness.
Life in this universe can be explained the same ways. Everything's cool unless something blows up. That describes anything. Like my day yesterday at work, everything was great.
Speaking of
No-
work,
nothing
we
blew
have
up.
a Lou Costello. Am I correct?
That is his name, Lou Costello. Yeah, Lou Costello. Louis Costello is the second. He's
playing Wilbur. What's he doing?
He is the banana, and the straight man is. I love this guy's name in real life. His real life name is William, but he's called Bud though. So he's a William, just like you. But his nickname is Bud, and that's kind of how it stuck. But let's talk about the plot of this movie, such as it is. I will try.
I
not
guess
to...
he saw himself as Bud Weiser.
Bud Weiser. You don't remember? You haven't seen those commercials.
I
There's
don't
there
know.
are the-
I feel like
those
only
frogs.
Americans would get that joke.
Have you seen the frogs? They're like, one of them goes, Bud. The other one goes, Wise. And yeah, go figure.
No.
The
No,
commercials. You young people, you whippersnappers, you don't get these commercials that I used to watch all the time on TV.
Yeah, I don't think that adds up. Like 7 times 13.
So, like I said, the movie starts with animated credits of the monsters and introducing the actors, and it's got this cool, like, animated bone font, which I really liked. I wonder if
And
somebody's made a
furthermore,
font of it.
animated everything. And they would continue to do this for, like, I think the second film and every other film that they would do. At least the second film.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, unless they kind of go, hey, we. Also, the guy who did the animated part there is Walter Lantz, and Walter Lantz's famous animated bird creation that he did was Woody Woodpecker. So that's where I remember Walter Lantz from. Anyway, that's a nifty little bit of trivia. So the movie, like you said, the movie does start with Larry Talbot. He is calling on a long distance call to a shipping company that's in La Mirada, Florida. He's asking to speak to a couple of the guys about these crates. He never really gets a chance to talk to them yet.
So it's never a great time to talk about them.
You're a crate guy. No, that's terrible. All right,
Yeah,
so
Yeah, we literally put this at our intro. The bad dad jokes and bad jokes.
yeah, but I don't want to bring both of them. All right, so you got.
I guess we better include low-hanging fruit on that. Speaking of low-hanging fruit, or rather,
of low-hanging, you got
something
Chick,
hanging high above him.
Right, you've got Chick Young. They work as baggage handlers, which is cool for the plot because baggage is what's being sent to them in the form of those crates, and that starts the whole thing off. So Chick is yelling at Wilbur all the time. His phone rings and the buzzer rings at the same time.
And he's yelling all the time randomly as well. He will just randomly
There's
shout
lots
words.
of yelling. Yeah. Oh, Chick.
And bark at a lady's dog. And that does not do anything.
He's kind of ridiculous. So the lady comes in for a suitcase. He pulls a suitcase out of the the whole pile like Jenga blocks, and they all fall down. He's kind of clumsy, but things just seem to work out for him. He fell down and hurt his head. This beautiful woman named Sandra, played by Lenore Aubert, she comes in and calls him darling and is concerned about his head. And that comes back into play later. She's not as quite concerned about his head as you might think that she is. She's concerned about something inside of his head. His mind, very open of her and very modern and forward thinking. All right, but the phone rings. It's Larry Talbot from London, as per mention. And he asks about these 2 crates. They're going to be delivered to McDougal's House of Horrors. The moon's going to be rising soon. And he's going to be leaving London to head out to Florida to meet them. while he is talking to Wilbur, he says, okay, don't open the crates until I get there. And he starts turning into the Wolfman. Wilbur thinks, he doesn't know it's Larry Talbot. He thinks it's McDougal because McDougal, he's why would he ask about the crates? So here...
Wouldn't, he said never mind the check number, right? He was like, do you have a check number for that? Never mind the check number. Wouldn't that be, suspicious at all, though, still? If I was working a job and someone was asking a request, but was like, never mind, don't, it's like saying, did you make an appointment? Who cares about appointments? I'm coming right in. And so that's suspicious.
Right. Well,
you'd be like,
I don't know.
Sorry,
Wilbur doesn't pick up on a lot. Let's see. Wilbur hangs up on Larry, thankfully enough. The real McDougal shows up, played by Frank Ferguson. Frank Ferguson, I've seen him in tons of different stuff. Mainly the place that I recognize him from is Andy Griffith's Show.
Which is a very good pick for a guy. That's a very nice show to pick from for this kind of movie.
I could swear that he was on Mayberry. I call it Mayberry. Sorry, Andy Griffith's Show for a couple times. He played a couple different characters, side characters. Anyway, he comes in. He wants his 2 crates. Chick goes back in the back to get the crates. He does a nice little deal where he's on top of the crates and they're leaning forward, and he's of course attached by his feet. It's a good little bit of physical humor. Sandra gets to come back there. Sandra is the lady with the foreign accent that really likes Wilbur. She comes back, and before she comes back, McDougal is kind of bragging to Sandra that those 2 crates contain the original bodies of Count Dracula and Frankenstein's monster. Of course,
it's like, obviously you mean the plushies that are going to be on display.
No, the real deal. Sandra says, I got to break my date with you, but I hope that's okay. And he says, yeah, that's fine. So they're not being very nice with the crates, and McDougal doesn't like that because he paid a lot of money for this, and he's like, he's really upset with these guys. He's like, okay, you guys can't just give these crates to me. You got to deliver them to my House of Horrors, and the insurance inspector.
And it's like any sort of thing that you'll do other than messing it up at this crate is a good thing.
Yes. Now we zoom over to the next scene, which is at the House of Horrors. The lightning storm is brewing. It's really, brings up the creepy factor. Of course, that makes the lights go off a couple times too. They head into the House of Horrors is a wax museum, and of course Wilbur backs up into one of this executioner's blade, and so you kind of show that he's spooked out by all this stuff. Wilbur has to get the crate moved in while Chick goes outside for some reason, and you find this happens a lot. Inside the crate is a coffin with Dracula's crest on it. Wilbur is just hanging out there, just watching everything, and he decides to start reading the little poster. It has the Legend of Dracula on it, and the coffin begins to open and close really creepily, and of course, he freaks out. He's like, "Oh, Chick!" That's his thing. That's his thing, and it's funny. If he did it like the entire movie, it wouldn't be good, but.
Yeah, literally the only thing with Wilbur is whining without his, body language reflecting his voice, because he's, he's cocking his head while he's doing it, but, his body isn't moving.
At one part, he can't whistle, he loses his voice. Yeah, he's like, Chick!
He literally just lip work.
No. Look,
and he also goes with his
he can't whistle
on his mouth. And goes, and I'm like, well, what are you doing?
He's trying to whistle, but he's exasperated.
Well, he can do it later.
I will say this. Of the 2 performers, I think he's the funnier of the 2.
That it makes it unnatural.
Gets most of the funny.
I feel like if you're
gonna it's unnatural because
if you're gonna do that, then you should probably have some physicality to it. That's my take.
It's how they roll, and I think honestly he's
the only issue I really have with what Wilbur does. But
of the 2 guys, he's the funnier. He's the better performer, I think.
Very Lou Costello.
Well, every time he gets Dracula sightings in that room, he starts calling Chick back in the room. Chick comes in, and there's nothing to see here. Of course, Bela Lugosi is constantly pulling the thing above his mouth,
Yeah,
And
I know
think the reason-
vampires put their cloak over their faces, but surely they don't do it all the time.
I think that became one of his things later on. But we see in the other crate, it's got Frankenstein's monster in there. So Chick goes out. He hears McDougal come to the place. He goes to talk to him. I think the lights went out or something. So they're trying to get the lights back on. Dracula hypnotizes Wilbur. He's easily hypnotizable. He really is. There's only a couple times that he can actually fight it. But
So are you going to talk about the animated bat transformation?
I think that comes up in a little bit. I can mention a little bit. I'm
But yeah, he does that frequently throughout the film. How do you like it?
I
like it much better than what they have done before.
You mean the House of Dracula, House of Frankenstein style animations that they did?
Yeah, just the only thing is that they make him look like a little fat. Just a little fat in the drawing. Only in the drawing, but otherwise he's fine.
I kind of like the House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula ones a little bit better. I think they feel more practical to me.
Well,
this looks
one
like
is a good idea. It's a great idea.
He's flying
it's
around
like
cartoony like the whole time.
It's like the Chronicles of Narnia, like old 1990s thing we used to watch, where they animated
88, 89, yeah.
Yeah, where they animated like all the creatures and like the phoenix and whatever. I still need to go find that again because I'm very nostalgic for it. I love the idea of that, and especially like adding animated elements to these is very unique.
You know, there's another.
Roger Rabbit. You're about to talk about Roger Rabbit.
No. But there's another movie, a serial that was like, it was a Superman serial where when they had him flying, Superman flying through the air, it was a Superman as a cartoon animated because they couldn't really, have him fly. So after, before he would land, the animated character would come down and they're out of frame and he'd pop up, So Frankenstein has been awakened. And you hear him talk. Dracula and Frankenstein's monster leave. Chick, McDougal, and the insurance inspector come in. The bodies are gone. So McDougal wants to get them put in jail.
Yeah, do you usually get arrested for distracting the police with, like, false summons? Like, when you, like, tell the police there's something that isn't actually there, like, what they do with swatting? When you swat a specific person?
Yes, that is actually illegal. But,
So, do they put people in jail for it?
No. I think so.
I legitimately don't know.
It's actually against the law to do a false report.
But what's the offense for that?
I don't know what you go down for. I just know that it's illegal for you to do a false report against somebody else.
Speaking of offense, what's separating them from the outside world is finally being broken when they get bailed out of jail.
That happens in a little bit. So first, Dracula flies like an animated bat to a castle, on a small island in Florida. At the front door of the castle, Dracula turns back into a human, knocks on the door, and who is there but Sandra, whose last name is Mornay, but even more than that, she's Dr. Mornay. So it looks like her and Dracula are working together. Sandra Mornay says she has studied Dr. Frankenstein's notes, and she can give the monster a new brain. Dracula says, I don't want to do the same thing we did before and give him a bad brain. He's like, I found the most simple and pliable brain possible. We find out it's the brain of Wilbur. So she does love him for his mind. She wants to pull it out of his skull and put it in the monster. So again, like most of these Frankenstein-style movies, it's pull the brain out of one person, put it in another, and yeah, that's part and parcel of the whole myth that they put into these things. Somebody mysteriously bails Chick and Wilbur out of jail. They think it's Sandra. The
way you said that,
Sandra
it
got
made
me
me think of Chicken Wilbur, and then I imagined Lou Costello's face on the animated chicken from the movie, and then I just had to mention that because that is
the
a
star
really hilarious
of Chicken Run,
image.
Chicken Wilbur. Well, what about Chicken Brent?
Lou Costello blasting off in a Coca-Cola jetpack, missing pants.
You're gonna have to show me what Chicken Wilbur is, or I don't know what you're talking about.
You mean I need to Photoshop this abomination and post it
on
our social medias? Well,
yes,
you have to
will.
look out for if I ever decide to do that.
You just tell me. I got some Photoshop skills. I'll help you out. All right, so
Which will be never. On the face of the earth, none shall exist.
None. Okay, Chick and Wilbur had both gotten out of jail, and somebody bailed them out. I think Chick thinks it's Sandra. Wilbur's saying, I seen what I seen when I seen it. You got to believe me. And of course, Chick is a skeptic, and he stays skeptical through the whole movie pretty much. There's a knock on the door, and who would it be but Larry Lawrence Talbot? He realizes that Wilbur believes him that Frankenstein's monster and Dracula were in there. And so he sees in him a kindred soul and goes, oh, you understand. You know what we're up against. Talbot's trying to stop Dracula from reviving the monster. He can't go to the police because he's a werewolf, you see. He says, you have to lock me in my hotel room. And you don't ask any questions. He's like, no matter how much noise I make. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll do that. So he does that, but Wilbur goes, oh, he forgot his bag. And he tries to take it in there to him. And while he's in there, Larry is a wolfman now. And Wilbur's dumb luck, he's constantly moves out of frame before Larry can pounce on him. They do a little scene back at the insurance company, and McDougal is really mad. And the insurance investigator who's out of frame comes into frame, and it's Joan Raymond, played by Jane Randolph. She's the one who bailed them out of jail. And she says, oh, I'm going to talk to Wilbur and, get out of him. I can get out of him easily where these two items are, these two people. There's a masquerade ball that night. And Sandra tells Wilbur, pick me up at the castle alone at sunset. Sandra leaves. There's a knock on the door. It's not Sandra coming back for a kiss. It's Joan. And Chick is just like, what is the deal? You get two ladies interested in you in a day.
I think that maybe you should have continued the dog thing and, literally did his, leg, and then that would continue the acting like a dog thing. And I think that would be like a funny rule of three sort of thing.
Well, I wish he had done that. There's a part where he, kicks his leg like a dog, sort of, when he's on a gurney in the castle in a climactic scene. And you're right. If he had done that 2 more times, that would have been funny. Or like a callback. It could have been a 5? It's a rule of 3. If he did it once. If he did 2 more times earlier in the movie, it'd be rule of 3.
No, I mean, act like a dog. Because he barked twice.
Oh, he did, right. Okay, so that was another dog thing. Okay, well, that makes sense. How many times did he bark? 3? 2?
The first time was at the dog, and then the second time was at Larry Talbot as a werewolf.
The first time was at this like a fox stole or whatever. This lady has like a stole on her, and it's like a fox.
Oh, I thought it was some dog, but I guess I'm dumb
a dead
because
dog
why on earth would you do that? I am sorry.
He's a weirdo, and it's funny. It's the way comedy works.
That reminds me, I think you glanced over this. I was waiting for you to mention it. Larry Talbot and Lou Costello are talking.
Yeah.
They're talking about why on earth they should do this, and Larry Talbot says we have a date with destiny.
Yes, that's a girl's name.
Yeah, because he's like, I've got a date with 2 women. I can't do this, and he's like, we've got a date with destiny, and he's like,
give destiny to Bud or to Chick.
I think that's the line. But
Chick
Larry
never
Larry
gets a girl.
Talbot be the guy to say we have a date with destiny? I'm dead serious. I don't think he would. That was one thing that I was like, oh, that's not his character at all. That is not part of his vocabulary.
Well, he's overly dramatic about everything. We have to stop them. We have a date with destiny. He's overly dramatic.
He doesn't even do that much, though.
No, not really. But everything is heightened. Everything is heightened. We take everything up to
literally even out of
the
first movie, which was probably where he was at his best, if I'm very honest.
Yes, I would say
I don't think he would say that even then.
No, but like I said, this is comedy, and with comedy, you gotta.
It's literally
boost
just
everything
to set
up
up a joke.
Yeah, of course. Everything is to set up a joke. Welcome to silliness. All right, so Joan invites herself as Wilbur's date to the masquerade ball. He doesn't say I already have a date. Great, Wilbur. All right. That night, Chick, Wilbur, and Joan, they boat over to the island castle.
Very Harry Potter-like.
On your way to Hogwarts. Yeah, we'll... Sure.
Which, by the way, I like the idea of boating up to, like, this castle, drawn castle model, whatever they have. I think it's drawn.
Well, there are islands. Or could be a model. It's only a model.
I love rowing up to an island. That's got to be a very favorite element of mine.
Most dangerous game? Of course, they were shipwrecking.
No, I'd be thinking about another thing, but if I were to say it, it would be spoiling.
So when they get to the castle, Dr. Stevens opens the door. Sandra wanted Wilbur to come alone, but he sure didn't do that. Sandra wants to get rid of Chick and Joan. She says, "Do you need to powder your nose, Joan?" And no, that doesn't mean what most actors did, which is powdering their nose. No, she actually has to put on makeup again. Chick is still trying to get one of them. He goes, "You got Sandra. Can I have Joan?" And he's like, "No." And there's a running gag that Wilbur thinks that he can date both women at the same time, but that doesn't really work out in real life. There's a phone call. Wilbur answers the phone. It is Talbot. Talbot said that there's a Dr. Lejos that has been receiving a lot of electrical equipment, the kind of stuff that would wake up a Frankenstein's monster. And he thinks that the castle is where Dr. Lejos is. And he's like, I don't know about... So we mean Chick and Wilbur team up to look around the castle. Chick is like, look around the castle. We don't find anything. You need to shut up about all this Dracula, Frankenstein nonsense.
Lou Costello would be the type of guy to go around saying the sky is falling.
Yeah, and nobody believed in him. Yeah, because he's always seeing the crazy stuff and they're missing it. Anyway, they go through this rotating door kind of gag. There's like an interior boat dock, and on the other side of it, there's
basically
the rotating
just an
door.
Extension of the classic thing of always missing the thing that's going on.
Yes, and Chick never sees the monsters, but Wilbur keeps seeing it. I think the best one that I've ever seen of the rotating door thing was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where Junior and Doctor, and Senior are tied down, and they are in the chair, and it keeps flipping over, and they're either in a room that's caught on fire, or they're in a room with a bunch of German bad guys. Let's just say that. That one was better done, I think, as far as a joke. Wilbur gets in there and decides to sit down, but he sits down on Frankenstein's monster's lap. And there's and we see things that Wilbur doesn't see, which is kind of part of the joke. These scenes, any scene with Wilbur in it and Glenn Strange, had to do multiple takes because Glenn would just bust out laughing. Some actors nowadays are big on this more so than then, but ad-libbing, making up jokes on the fly. There's a lot of actors that do that now, but back in the day, the other actors didn't know what to do because that wasn't in the script, and so they're kind of caught unawares. But Lou Costello used to do that, and that his whole point was that's what makes it funny is you have to be able to, go on the fly. Anyway, Joan and her name is Dr. Mornay are upstairs, and Joan finds Secrets of Life and Death by Dr. Frankenstein. This diary or whatever has been talked about before.
I think Sandra also finds her ID.
Yes, and it says that she's an insurance investigator. Who carries ID that says
I investigate insurance.
I don't have an ID that I keep. Well, I do have a lanyard, but I don't.
Are
have
you
an
protected
ID
against doctors messing up your filings, or needing doctors to mess up your filings?
That doesn't make sense. You know what? It's for the story, though. All right, so they end up going downstairs, and Dr. Lejos comes down too, wearing a nice robe. Dr. Stevens comes in and asks Dracula about the equipment, and he says, "Hey, you can worry about that later. Go to the party." And so he kind of looks like he likes Joan a little bit. Of course, Joan's not there really for Wilbur. Joan's just there to solve the mystery. But I think she does kind of start liking Dr. Stevens. It's kind of hinted that they end up together at the end of the movie.
Yeah, she's the Detective Underwood on the case, sort of, with this.
Aha!
Aha!
Oh! Again, everything is a backyardigans reference to you, sir.
I just happened to like that episode, so
I love it. Dracula.
I gotta love my mysteries. You gotta have that Fushigi lifestyle. You gotta have the Fushigi in your life.
Right. So Dracula says that Chick, Joan, and Dr. Stevens will go on the first run to the mainland in the boat, and Wilbur and Sandra will follow. I think that's probably because he's wanting to, get Wilbur and chop open his brain and blah, blah, blah. Sandra says she can't go to the party because now she has a headache all of a sudden. That's upstairs. She talks with Lejos, a.k.a. Dracula, about everything she found out. She says, there's an insurance investigator after us, and this is getting crazy. She wants to wait for the operation, but Dracula's like, no. But she's kind of going, I don't have to. Here's the diary if you want to do it so bad. And Dracula uses manipulation tactics of hypnosis, but uses hypnosis on her, but then gives her a bite on the neck. You know what that means?
She's
Vampirism.
a vampire.
But if you look in the mirror,
Good sir, she's a vampire.
Dracula is in the mirror. If you look in the mirror, you can see his reflection. Anyway.
Harry, you have to give this to me.
Harry.
I must become a vampire. Do not listen if I squeal.
What is that from?
The Half-Blood Prince. You have to read it.
Okay. Joan and Stevens go to the party, and they dance a little bit. Chick and Wilbur go to put on their costumes. They run into McDougal, who's wearing a devil outfit. He's still angry, he's as angry as the devil, thinking that they stole his monster's bodies. And he beats up Wilbur, and Chick is like, well, you need a witness. And he goes, well, you can't count as a witness. He grabs a guy dressed as a knight, and goes, you be a witness. And he goes, all right, do it again. And he throws him up against the wall again. And he goes, did you see anything? And he goes, I didn't see a thing, because his helmet fell down. It's like, it's just beat up Wilbur Day. So they are getting changed. Larry is in there, and he does not like that Chick has a Wolfman mask. Dracula and Sandra show up to the party. Dracula's wearing his Dracula costume.
He's like, Dracula! He's like, he's dead serious, by the way.
My costume.
He's dead serious, by the way, just so you know, Doctor. And he's like, it's obviously a facsimile. I don't think it would say facsimile.
From the movie starring Bela Lugosi. You never seen this movie?
I don't think you could have an accent and say the word facsimile.
No.
Prove me wrong in the comments.
Sandra looks kind of, just glazed. Her eyes are glazed out. Dracula.
I feel like a new woman.
Dracula takes
so
Joan takes Joan to the dance floor. I wonder if he's got the same dance moves that Adam Sandler's Dracula has in Hotel Transylvania. We'll never find out because we don't see.
What do you mean by dance moves? I don't recall him dancing. I recall him rapping.
I think there was some dancing. I think he does eventually dance. Sandra's a vampire and tries to bite Wilbur. Wilbur is like weirded out by her all of a sudden. Possibly because he sees flying bats in her eyes, which is a nifty effect. I did like that effect. Chick and Talbot show up and stop the killing. Now everybody needs to go find Joan. Where's Joan? I don't know. Where's Joan? What did you do with her? So the three men go in the woods looking for Joan.
Joan's on first.
Yeah, who's on first? What's on second?
Precisely.
I don't know who's on third. So that's what I said. All right. So, and as we know, the full moon happens for like 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days a month. And so now is another, plot device of the moon.
Yeah, the moon does trigger multiple times.
How many times does it trigger a month?
Sequential, if that's a word.
Yeah.
In
we've
sequence.
We've already talked about how silly, moon change, the moon causing you to change, because it's really just a reflection of the sun's light off of a rock in space. So Wilbur escapes. Talbot has bitten off screen McDougal, and he thinks he was bitten by Chick wearing the wolf costume. That doesn't make any sense. A human bit me wearing a wolf mask, right? So now we have it wouldn't be a Universal movie without a mob of people chasing someone. So they're chasing Wilbur through the woods. He sees Dr. Lejos turn into a bat and chasing him around. And he finds Joan hypnotized sitting in a boat. Chick escapes the mob, and he sees Dracula hypnotize Wilbur. Wilbur just faints. He faints and falls in the boat, which is, hey, that's great. That's what you want. Chick shows up too and finally sees something supernatural. And he passes out, probably because of Dracula's hypnosis powers. Chick wakes to the sound of barking dogs that's part of the mob. Again, I don't know if they have torches or not, but I think that would be in Visaria.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like... Yeah. I don't think you need, like, a large amount of torches in a castle. Like, I mean, you need some, like, dug around, but you don't need, like, a large amount. Like,
also, I don't know what the rules are about.
Do a lot of like carrying a candle
torches in the woods
in these movies. So like, yeah.
So
even
Talbot,
still, it's like you don't need a lot of them. Not everyone needs one unless you're splitting up. Which again, I talked about earlier why they should be splitting up if they're a mob. The whole thing is power in numbers is covering more ground, and you're not covering more ground if you're all in a line.
So Talbot has turned back. Talbot has turned back into a human. And he's hiding out in the woods, and Chick believes him that he is a werewolf. So I guess he's not skeptical anymore. Talbot and Chick hide until the mob is gone. In the castle, Wilbur is stuck in a pillory.
How many flicks contain a man named Chick? If Chick was in a flick.
Right, Chick is in a flick.
With Mick.
So Wilbur has got a pillory around his neck. He can't move. And he's in there with Sandra, who is still hypnotized, and Frankie. I'm just going to call him Frankie. I'm sorry. That's what Wilbur keeps calling him. Hey, Frankie, Junior.
That's not actually his name, though, right?
No,
definitely not.
It's not Frankie.
It's Frankenstein's monster, not
I know it's Frankenstein's monster, but I like calling him Frankie. It makes me laugh. And that's important in life.
Speaking of which, I thought they would do the fire bad thing, but I don't think they did the fire bad thing.
No, fire is bad for Frankenstein's monster.
But they don't do the fire bad thing.
No, that would be
like way later.
At sunset, Dracula wakes up and has Sandra begin the operation on the weakening monster. She tells Wilbur that she's going to put...
where they were doubtful about the experiment being able to be done because the duo was there meddling around?
Yes. She also tells Wilbur that she's going to put his brain in the monster's body. She's like, I'm going to make it where you can live forever. He's like, oh, Sandra, you still do love me. And she goes, I'm going to take your brain out and put it in his body. He's like, no. Okay, Dr. Stevens comes into the laboratory and says, this is highly unorthodox, and I don't like what you're doing. And Sandra knocks him on the head.
She's like, you can live without a brain. It's fine.
He found the Dr. Frankenstein book, and he suspects something.
Or rather, you can exist as just a brain, I guess, because technically your body would be his, I guess, but the brain is the brain. The monster is its own thing, but the monster is headed by the brain, but he is the brain. So technically, Lou Costello would be just a brain.
Now here's my thought.
So he'd be living only as a brain.
Is it just like the Igor thing? Like if you put
how does that work then?
If you put Lou Costello's brain in the Frankenstein's monster, is it going to start going?
Yeah, that's legitimately like. What do you think? If someone else's brain is inserted into another person, are they technically two different things, or two different people? At that point,
I think
even
there
by
could be
technicality
a case.
or like history,
I think there could be a case made that they're not the Frankenstein's monster that was before, and they're not Wilbur that was. They're Franken-Wilbur. They're a completely new thing.
But even still, if one has like the memories, but the other has the physicality, physical growth, they'd have two different histories.
Could even access the memory. We don't even know.
Yeah, we don't even know because we've never done that in science. Because why on earth would you do that?
There's never been a brain transplant of that type ever that I know of. I don't think I think the human body would seriously reject it. You would have to.
Yeah, you have to get back to us. But isn't the Wolfman doing things about now?
Yes, Talbot and Chick arrive in a rowboat near the cave entrance to the castle. Dracula and Sandra take Stevens to the basement. they have the monster get on a gurney. Yes, master. Talbot and Chick get down there and they free Wilbur, wake up Stevens. Dracula and Sandra find out that the victims have escaped. And he uses his hypnosis power, come here, to get Wilbur to come back to him. They find out Wilbur's missing. They're like, well, where did he go? Yeah, it's a lot of, he was here, now he's gone, let's go get him. And it's just, that increases the runtime. So they see flashing in the laboratory window. They head in there to rescue Wilbur because now Wilbur is on the chopping block, so to speak. He's strapped in, and now we're going to go crazy. Sandra is preparing to cut him open. Talbot rushes in and grabs Sandra, while Chick is facing off against Dracula using a chair. Sandra gets knocked out before Chick runs away. Before he can disconnect Wilbur, Talbot turns into the Wolfman. The Wolfman starts breaking stuff because that's what he does.
And I think he starts fighting with
Dracula comes
Dracula.
in. Now, the thing we've been wanting forever, which is Dracula versus the Wolfman. We were hinted at that in another movie. I think it was the movie that was going to be House of Dracula before or something. It was Dracula versus the Wolfman. We were promised it, and we never really see it, and now we actually see it. It's too short.
Yeah,
Dracula
he literally
comes in.
just like pounces on it, and they both die. I'm pretty sure.
You'll see. Frankenstein's monster now wakes up from the table. Sandra tries to stop him, and just like Frankenstein's monster throwing Daniel from the movie House of Frankenstein out the window, he throws Sandra out. Sorry, but we got lucky that we had somebody in this movie that could help out if somebody gets hurt that plays Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Daft Punk arrived onto the scene.
Daft Punk now shows up
because after all,
because
we're going down to get lucky. So that's.
Oh my word!
If anyone wants to know my opinion on Daft Punk, I haven't heard much. There is that the robot dance one, which is boring.
Faster, stronger. There's the one that goes faster, stronger.
I think that's the robot dance. It's literally just like a bunch of beats and then just like robot words, and that's really it.
They're constantly wearing
for a song,
masks
and I'm like,
too.
sure, yeah, okay, this might do well for the DJ scene.
Yeah,
I guess, but it's not. It's not really a great listenable song in my opinion.
But ladies and gentlemen, Sandra's dead.
Sandra.
Chick and Wilbur run away as the monster give chase, and now this is the Scooby-Doo portion of our movie where they are rushing into one room and getting chased in there by a monster, and they rush out and they trick him, and it's fun. It's decently funny. It's so quick that it's over really fast.
I wonder why it is called a Scooby-Doo moment, because it's like, I wonder what the actual origin of it is.
You go into one room. You go into a room, get chased, move out, run to another room.
Yes,
just going
and
back
I
and forth.
understand that, but I don't know why it would be like the Scooby-Doo thing still. I still need to research
It's called that because I want to call it that. And it reminds me of Scooby-Doo.
Most people call it that, which is why I question this.
Dracula tries to escape the Wolfman by turning into a bat. The Wolfman jumps on the bat, and both creatures fall to their death on the rocks. But do they? I think Dracula does die, okay, because the Wolfman, I guess, might sink his teeth in hard, because Joan comes out of a trance. And that made me think that at least we know that Dracula's dead. But I'm not quite sure about Larry, because you know how hard it is to kill Larry?
Yeah, they have to definitely bring him back, but
he jumped off a cliff before and lived.
Frankenstein's monster and Dracula are both dead.
Well, we never see Dracula or Wolfman again, I think, in their current state. And then so we're kind of,
and we don't see
dead.
Frankenstein at all, or Frankenstein's monster.
As far as Universal is they're gone.
As far as they're concerned, this is the end, and then it's just the Invisible Man, Jekyll and Hyde, the Mummy, the killer Boris Karloff. I think that's it.
Yeah, which that doesn't.
Don't call me
counts or not. Yeah. So McDougal and another guy come to capture Chick and Wilbur because they're like, "Oh, there you are. You guys have those bodies," and he's like, oh, you want those bodies? There's one. It's coming this way. And he's like, oh, really? And the monster comes down to the dock.
And they light the fire.
Joan and Dr. Stevens have a little gas problem. They dump gasoline all over. I will tell you this. This scene, I don't know if it inspired... It makes sense. It would inspire a scene from Jason versus Freddy, which is another Monster Mash movie. It's just a slasher Monster Mash movie. There's actually a dock sequence where there is like gas dumped out into the dock and lit. It just reminded me of that movie. And
now that I think about it, I feel like this movie really is sort of like a Maniac Mansion sort of thing, where that is inspired by all the stuff they did with Freddy Krueger.
Maniac Mansion.
The only thing is they had like more detailed writing and a different, varied level of humor. That's very 80s.
Point and click. Maniac Mansion was a point and click Lucasfilm game, wasn't it?
And plus, it's more around, obviously the premise and the mystery, but not so much the.
So the monster who says fire bad starts walking toward the fire. Of course, you can tell it's a stunt. Then you get what is a nice little promised thing that never gets fully paid off. And it's an unseen voice says, oh, that's too bad. I was hoping to get in on the excitement. Allow me to introduce myself.
I am the Invisible Man.
And who did the voice?
I think
Vincent Price.
Yeah, I was about to.
That was Vincent Price. Oh, it was on the tip of your tongue.
I was just about to say, the guy from the second movie.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Was it Revenge? Revenge? Return? Revenge?
So, get me right. Cool. I knew this. The name didn't come to my mind.
It's okay. You get points. And of course, he has a very.
I'm dead serious. I was just about to say it. Anyways,
he's uncredited though, as far as I could tell. But very
a little bit Glenn Strange, in my opinion.
Stranger and stranger.
Speaking of which, this is the end of Glenn Strange. How sad.
This is also
how thoughtfully boring.
This is also the end of the movie, and
so do you want to know? Yeah. Well, first of all, do you want to know what 7 times 13 is?
Yes.
It's 28.
I started doing it in my head. Yep.
Which is incorrect. I think it's actually 91. I'm pretty sure.
So
but it's a skit in one of the movies where they're trying to. It's a bit where they try and calculate, or Luke Costello's calculating 7 times 13 is 28. I think it's like they're doing like money, taxes, whatever related to the plot. And then I go to a whiteboard and they do the math out, and even like he's getting it wrong. Even Abbott is getting it wrong. Though the reason why it's a very simple mistake. They multiply 7 times 1 instead of 7 times 10. They don't do the 0 carried over. So they do 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 1 is 8.
I don't know if they know what they're doing as far as like what comedy.
I think it's very effective because it's a very simple mistake that even like can get anyone up. That it's hilarious. Like, not only are you seeing them failing, but you're also failing in your head because you're like, wait, what? How do you do this calculation like they're like correct, or how they're doing it? It's a very genius skit because of that. Because it's like, it's very relatable. It's very, they just executed very well. And that's why it's 28. In actual reality. Totally actual reality. So,
I thought it was
at the end fire scene, that Frankenstein's monster was actually a dummy, piloted by Crane, to walk into the fire. Similar to what they did with the Great Muppet Caper. They had a scene where the Muppets were biking, and basically what they did was they puppeted them on a crane. And they also stuck some of the bikes together. That's what you do with puppets, is you puppet them. Yeah, strangely enough. That's the one noticeable thing, but that, like, even still, it's very hard to tell that it's piloted by Crane at all, because they do it so well They mask it so well. Just the shadow is like, based on behind the scenes, the shadow is just right out of frame of the crane.
Yeah.
It's just immaculately done of a scene. But the one noticeable thing is,
it
they
looked very
stick
robotic.
the bikes
His
together.
movement was very robotically looking. I mean, the talking about the Frankenstein's monster was
they
very
did have to
robotic in its
scoot
movements.
the feet by going under the feet and scooting it as he was walking to make him walk, because obviously a bike, you can have it like automatically move, right?
Yeah, and you attach it to like the feet or whatever. If it's a bicycle, you just move the wheels and the feet just move along with it.
You can't feasibly have like foot strings for that, because you'd have to have the footfalls, the shamble to be correct.
So
at this time, Universal just became Universal International, as we see from the new logo in this movie.
Yes.
By 1945, the duo were close to splitting due to infighting with each other, personal issues. Abbott had severe epilepsy. Costello nearly died of rheumatic heart cancer in 1943. That's gotta be serious. But fortunate that he survived. Also, their popularity was waning.
It caught up with him later. I think it caught it with him later.
MGM dropped making them films, and Camel cigarettes dropped off the radio show the year prior, which was probably
that's because there was a Abbott and Costello radio show. There was also, I think they did TV show as well, like
that was
the Colgate Comedy Hour.
That was like 52 to 57, and I think it's some of that is the best Abbott Costello that you could have.
Yeah.
But people do say that this movie is one of the best movies that they actually did.
There's a couple of them that are really, really good. And this would be one that's really quintessentially
they
Abbott
considered
and
doing this as a stage show with the monster actors, but the time demands were too much for doing anything, makeup and getting everyone together. They had already done a movie called Hold That Ghost, which was reportedly great at a very similar level, slightly above this one.
Yeah, that I did read that there were some similar scenes that were slightly tweaked. That
particularly in Hold That Ghost, a candle lifts and it goes chuck, and in this movie, a coffin lid lifts up and it goes chick. Yeah. So they literally did basically the exact same thing with that.
I'm gonna watch Hold That Ghost. I think sometime between now and next week.
Hold That Ghost. I'm gonna watch that movie. Jack Pierce was replaced with Bud Westmore for the film, as Jack was an expensive, stuck-up hobo, I guess. So they streamlined.
Why did you say stuck-up hobo?
I don't know. I felt like the way I wrote it, I had to describe the way that he described, add a noun in there, and I'm like, I don't know what noun to add.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, hot take.
He's I was gonna say an expensive and stuck-up auteur, but then that's French for author, and that's only reserved for directors and authors. Auteur.
Or writers, many times.
So I'm like, Jack Pierce wasn't an auteur, he was a makeup designer. I was like, oh shoot, what did I say?
He was an artiste, if you want to,
Expensive and stuck-up artiste.
Lon Chaney said he didn't have to be in the makeup chair as long.
Because
he got it down
all
to
the
like an hour or two.
And clay, the molding that they had to do with Boris Karloff, like Michelangelo.
Oh yeah.
It took a long time.
It took very little time for Bud Westmore, because these pieces were already like created. I think Lon Chaney Jr. said it was a dream. The new makeup, which is a shame because he only got a chance to do it once.
Yeah.
I don't think he did Wolfman ever again.
Frankenstein's monster is the not only the modern day Prometheus, but the modern day David.
Okay. I did. Glenn Strange, when he would move his head, sometimes you would hear like this gurgle noise, but you can't hear it on screen. But that's because the head piece was so tight, and the lights were so hot, it had sweat inside his forehead. Yeah, you could hear moving around. That's really gross.
Baseball
really
mascots definitely also struggling with that. Bella liked the improv fooling around when it was off camera, but not on camera when he was trying to be serious. they were doing a lot of like improv on the set, especially as well as
Costello.
off the set.
Costello.
There are scenes where like one of the dudes would just constantly like walk in on a scene instead of Bela Lugosi, and it was funny because he was like, "What are you doing there?"
Supposedly, there are scenes where somebody comes on scene and I can't really see it when this is happening, but they actually mute it where Bella comments.
Yeah, he's like, "What on earth are you doing? This is a serious
right.
art. Movies are."
Yes, this is a serious role, Dracula.
Yeah,
really?
that's what I bet he's doing.
It's the other thing as well is they used to have cream pie fights. They'd throw banana cream pies at each other's face.
I did see that a lot used for like the type of comedy that they were doing, which is like cheap tricks, I guess.
But they never threw them at the monsters because they knew the makeup was really hard to do, and they did respect them on that count, which is good, which is nice.
So yeah, Abbott and Costello were not happy with working on this at all.
It's one of the most popular movies and made them pretty famous. I don't know why.
Yeah,
they hate
even
that.
still, like, you know, the original script, like when they were announcing this with called The Brain of Frankenstein.
Yes.
He was just like, my daughter could write this.
My 8-year-old daughter.
My 8-year-old daughter could write this.
And they were like, we're gonna up your. Can we give you $50,000 more dollars? He's like, I'll do it.
Yeah, in case you don't have a picture of what the movie would then look like by his 8-year-old daughter, there's a Dexter's Lab episode that was entirely created. The script was entirely created by an 8-year-old, or like a young child. So it's just this young child like rambling, and then the episode is that. And it's like wholesome and endearing, but also like memeable a little bit. Because the ends the episode with the child constantly like just like drones off where it's like and then like restarts and then it's like the plot doesn't make sense anymore.
Okay.
And then at the end there's like a line where it goes, "You're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid." That's what the Dexter says, and then that's a bit of a.
I kind of want to see that episode. I think it's gonna be hilarious to me, but
yeah, probably one of the greatest Make-A-Wish things they ever did back then, I guess.
There's some really good Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, I said that because I don't recall, or I don't know of any of those. That would actually be a good research topic. They would leave home several times during shooting the script and not show up, or spend about 3 days playing cards on set.
Yeah.
As well as, you know, fooling around while doing the film.
And Bella did not like that.
Bella did not like that.
I'm a serious actor, and when you're supposed to be on set, you're on set, and he's serious about whatever he does. I mean, you know,
apparently
these
the
guys
cameo
are like,
by the
it's just a
Invisible
movie.
Man was made in the middle of the production. An accident happened where Glenn Strange was supposed to throw Lenore Herbert through a window.
Yeah.
An invisible wire was attached to her to help Glenn Strange lift her, but when she was thrown, she swung back into camera range. And he tried to catch her, causing him to fall and break his foot. So it's basically swinging into the camera.
So with a broken foot, what are you gonna do?
Wear boots. He had like cartoon boots on like the whole time.
But we have somebody else in the cast who has played Frankenstein's monster before. That would be Lon Chaney Jr. And in some of the scenes, he actually is, where you don't see his face, that's Lon Chaney Jr. playing the monster. You can fact check me on that. There's a couple scenes where
he took over for throwing her through the window in the scene.
That's right. And those
by
are all
the end of
scenes,
February,
of course,
it
with
was
Wolfman out of the
changed
scene.
to Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and they wrapped it up in March. Again, I had something that said it wrapped up in September, and I was like, wait, got to be a different movie.
So it took them that long to make it. Probably because they would
Abbott and Costello were just mad ad-libbing in the background. They just had to like constantly knock them off, and then they're like, okay, we're punishing you by 6 months in production hell. As if we don't work on this movie for 6 months, and then we resume it back in August.
Yeah, and by then someone has a mustache. I would say that this movie probably inspired a lot of the other Monster Mash movies that had Abbott and Costello in them, because didn't it make a good amount of money? Do you know how much money it made?
I don't know, but one thing I know is they would have had Carson Alucard in the movie, but that was dropped for money scope. Also having two Larry Talbot and the son of Dracula, Alucard, on the screen, I don't think that would have lasted long.
No, and I think it was a bad idea. I think it reminded me of the thing where it was going to be Wolfman versus Frankenstein in Frankenstein meets Wolfman. It was going to be Lon Chaney Jr. in both roles. He's like, I can play both roles. It's like, we know you can.
I can talk to myself.
But you know how much work it would be to get the split screen all the time, and
wasn't there a line in this movie about you should look at yourself in the mirror? Why would I do that torture?
Yeah, well, why would I do that to myself?
Why would I do that to myself? So I guess
there's a lot of really good lines in this movie. You know, my favorite is the one where he's talking about the girlfriend, and he's this girl he used to date, and he said, her teeth had so much bridge work. Every time I kissed her, I had to pay a toll.
Yeah. So, if you're wondering why on earth, if Lou Costello hated the script's guts, why on earth would they pursue doing it? $50,000 in advance, and director Charles Barton being added to the team. Some call the best director of Abbott and Costello's movies and their best friend. He got added onto the scene, and he was like, "Well, we're in it."
And he knows how they work. He knows their style. He knows how to work with them. He knows how to film them.
The reception was everyone loved it. There were some New York newspapers. A grand idea, but it was too bad that it could have been attended by persons capable of satire rather than pie-throwing comedy only. Painful experience. Or they said that if you don't have the talent for Abbott and Costello's comedy, then it would be a painful experience.
Yes, I would agree too. If you don't like their comedy, you won't like this, or anything they do, because it's
someone from the Hollywood Reporter went, these dudes in the New York newspapers are calling it negative, and he called them the boogeymen of Broadway. I think
that's not bad. The boogeymen of Broadway.
We get some retorting here. They're fighting for what they love. A later review from Kim Newman, writing for Empire, described it as not one of Abbott and Costello's better films, finding they do a lot of whining and slapping business. Never got the hang of the kiddie slapstick Universal assigned them, someone else said, and was probably the last of their watchable films, although that's a long way from their best. I do feel like I resonate with them not doing, the legitimate I think what Abbott and Costello are their best at, and I haven't watched the TV series at all. I haven't watched too much. Right. But they're at their most interesting when they're just bantering. In one location. They're just bantering.
Oh, that's a lot of their shtick.
Yes. There's less frequency of talking in this movie, as well as there's very well paced rises in their conversations in many of their banters, which they don't really do in this movie that much.
A lot of timing. You see a little bit of those little banter moments in there, but that's the majority of their stuff is banter. The whole thing about who's on first thing is a banter joke. It's wordplay, and
and also them going
it's Costello getting
this number.
upset.
Then wait, that's wrong math. Let's go discuss that.
Yeah, that's their main thing. Because when you're on stage, when you're performing at these different clubs, you're in a small area.
Some of this humor does get a little bit better halfway through until they switch it to straight action in the third act. That's where I'm like, dang it, I do think the opportunity.
Like I said, I think Costello is the funnier of the two guys to me, and Abbott is just reacting off of him or giving him something to react to. But I think he's funny, as far as old school kind of funny, and I'm okay with it. It does get a bit much sometimes. He's good. It's
definitely probably
small
better than
doses.
Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn Gorilla.
Oh, I was thinking
where
about
there's just nothing to it.
No. The guy who thinks he's hilarious, not the Duke Mitchell guy, the other guy, the Sammy Petrillo. Yeah, Sammy Petrillo. He's the banana man, and Duke Mitchell's the straight man. And Sammy Petrillo thinks he's funnier than he really is. And his delivery is terrible.
Ego is something that ruins a like in acting, is when you have like an obvious ego about everything, and you're like, people can sense that.
Well, yeah, and there's the kind of boyish kind of dunderhead kind of character that that Costello plays in a lot of things. Put upon.
Yeah, Lou Costello won't make you like actively cringe so much as him.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, but he's good. Like I said, good in small doses, just like us.
Like he's still like being a man-child, but he's not being the other dudes being a man-child, where he's like literally like wrapping around on the floor and scooting around in laughter and stuff like that.
Petrillo. Yeah, Sammy Petrillo. Ugh.
Yeah, yes, I'm talking about him.
Now you're reminding me of a worse comedy duo than that.
Some very last final details is that the documentary, which by the way, the guy who says this line, I think literally looks a lot like Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Honestly. He says that he cites Una O'Connor in Bride and Claude Rains' Invisible Man. With the both of them, comedy was always there with horror. And I was like, what do you think about that? Comedy was always there with horror. So it's very natural that horror
I think
turned
I can
into
understand.
satire.
Yeah, well, Una O'Connor was kind of a comedic character in the middle of a horror movie. And with
and
Claude
the Invisible Man
Rains,
is like, we're going here with nuts in May.
Oh yeah, here we go, gathering nuts in May. Yeah, because it was ridiculous, and the comedy is a way to kind of let the air out of the balloon a little bit. Horror is the balloon's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's stifling, and it's claustrophobic. And comedy is a way to kind of go, and you can kind of exhale. It's like inhaling of breath, and you can kind of exhale. And yeah, comedy and horror have gone hand in hand. They're a way to kind of release of tension release. You have rising tension release, and then maybe the tension goes up again, or whatever. But yeah, that's right. But this one was,
I think they're two very odd cases
the
in
comedy
a lineup of seriousness.
Way big. Yeah, the comedy went way big.
I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say that those two instances specifically mean that, like, I mean, while I understand it's there, and levity has always been there with whatever the opposite of levity would be that ends in ivity. I feel like it's a little bit of a stretch to say that it was always there exactly like that, and now it's just been brought forth into the limelight for what it is, and it's like, I feel like there's a delicate balance, and these are the exceptions, not the rule.
Yeah, I think he's right. There are little moments in movies that are kind of, they kind of have a humorous bent to them.
Yeah,
inside
but the specific
of movies
cases,
that are horrific.
The tone that they present, it's the exception and not the rule.
Yes, I would agree.
So, during the final chase scene, when Wilbur and Chick are standing in front of a door, and Frankenstein's monster punches right through it, Lou Costello deliberately went off his mark and got hit by on the jaw. And the director liked his reaction. They decided to keep it in the film.
Yeah, he kind of does hits the jaw and then grabs
Lenore
the shirt.
did all of her own stunts, which is probably why the accident happened with the throwing out the window.
They should have used a stunt man dressed as a woman, which is common practice.
They actually wanted to be thrown out of a glass window where they spun sugar for the window glass. That's not like pointing.
Sugar glass, right.
Sugar glass. However, they were like, are you sure you're not going to get hurt? And also, the insurance company wouldn't allow it. So,
yeah, and I think Lenore Aubert has only done a small handful of movies.
She couldn't even do it to completion because of that. They had to redo it, right? So, and I do believe that is it for the production. So, next time we're doing a little movie called
Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer, Boris Karloff.
Yes, and
it's
a
whodunit noir
like
kind of mystery.
I think there was stuff about like he wanted to sort of get back into Frankenstein, but he was like, it's long gone, and especially it's become a comedy now, so I don't think it would be right for me in my career. But he did like present himself publicly as like, hey, this is me, pointing at the poster.
Yeah, they had that a picture of him eating popcorn watching it. Like they were like, "Hey, Boris Karloff likes this Abbott and Costello movie. Wouldn't you want to show up and watch it?"
But then the next movie, he decided to be in it as, I guess, like a witchy sort of character, and then they replaced it with him, so he's like a female stereotype in this movie?
He plays, in the next movie, he plays a Swami, which is kind of because he's played Indian characters
that idea.
and he's played Chinese characters and Asians, so he can play. They're like, oh, he can play ethnic. He'll play like this Indian kind of Swami character named Typer. And I heard that, and we'll go into this later, but I heard that he came onto that he was only added to the cast at the last minute.
Yeah, like, it's interesting that he's like, I want to hop in this now. So we'll be prepared to do that. Also, we did not explain the entirety of Abbott and Costello's history from this point, and we'll save that for next time. So until then, we're not going to set up a cliffhanger like we did last episode. So we're just going to sit in our safety and take care. Wait. I think I don't see something. That's concerning. Well, have a good night then. Yeah, there's totally not an invisible guy right there.
Oh, okay. You scared me for a minute. I thought there was something wrong with the equipment. But as common as that is in our situation. But yeah, have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good week. Thanks for joining us for Cinematic Fantastic.
Take care. And continually grow your mind so that it will be useful for generations to come.
And simple and pliable.
In the destruction of humanity and science. Instead of its invention and creation, as opposed to it. We'll just end this. I wanted to say that actually is a very promising idea to have, like, what if Frankenstein, like, killed everyone? Like, what would, like, the apocalyptic situation then look like? Where, like...
Frankenstein kills the universe.
Yeah, like that. So, everyone take care. And have a pleasant whatever time it is in the country.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Cinematic Fantastic Podcast. Click here and here for some more excellent content. Hope you'll enjoy it. See you soon.